Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Sincerely, it's Stephanie. I'm Steph, and today I have a DIY tutorial to share with you. I'm going to show you how to use the pumpkin wreath form from Dollar Tree and also the witch hat wreath form from Dollar Tree and combine them to create a scarecrow and also a witch for the fall and Halloween holiday season. Some supplies that you're going to need are, of course, these wreath forms. You're going to need some zip ties to tie them together, some raffia, some yarn of your choice, and it needs to be the thicker blanket yarn. And I have a couple different options here, and you can see this one is a little bit thicker. But I'm going to be using this olive green, the sand color, this bright green, and also this black. Some other things that you're going to need are definitely going to be your scissors, your glue gun, and any embellishments that you want to put on your wreath. So, like I said, the color scheme is up to you. Use your imagination and just use my tutorial as a guide. So let's just get right on into it. The first thing I'm going to show you how to do is simply to wrap this witch hat wreath form. And I like to start with the bottom, the brim of the hat, and then I go up to the top and work my way down and tie it into here. And that is the easiest way that I found to make it look seamless and nice. So the color that I'm going to be using is this olive blanket yarn. And I like to ball my yarn up into little bits like this because it's easy to pass through the wires. So the very first thing I do is I start by just simply knotting the yarn onto the end. And you will be able to kind of tuck this into here and hide it. So let me see if I can get this to where I can show you. And you're just going to wind it all the way around. Now, sometimes I found that this little tip, the yarn may come off of it, so you may want to use a little bit of hot glue on the end here. And as you can see, where I knotted it has disappeared, and it's hiding in between. Trying to make this to where you can see this. So once you get to this point where the witch's hat comes down, you're going to go inside and around, and you can kind of slide this just a little bit. I may have need to. Okay, so you can see that I've completely used up one of my balls of yarn. So I'm simply going to just knot this together. And again, just like when you started out, you will be able to hide this and tuck this in. So I just simply knot it together. And I continue going around. Okay, so now that you have the brim complete, I am going to start with the very top up here and do the same technique, and I'm just going to knot this on the top. And this is a whole lot easier if you can sit this in your lap, as opposed to me trying to hold this up here on the table and video it. But it's really, it may not look difficult, like I'm having a difficult time, but it's a whole lot easier and a whole lot more natural if you're holding it. So just like the bottom, that little knot is going to hide inside your wrapping. I'm going to continue doing this all the way down to the bottom, down here, or either side, it doesn't matter. And then you're just going to knot it into the bottom here, and your Scarecrow hat and your witch's hat will be complete. The next step is to work on this pumpkin wreath form, and I like to start at the bottom. You're not going to be doing anything with the stem. It's going to be covered up in the end, but a little tip, because when you work from the bottom up, it can get a little bit of wonky, as I call it. What I like to do is I like to work from the bottom to the center, and then I like to come to the top and work to the center. And that way everything on the top and the bottom stays tight, and you don't have the yarn wanting to creep up on you, and you aren't pulling the yarn too tight, because these little Dollar Tree wreath forms, sometimes they can come apart if you put too much tension on them, and sometimes they're just not welded together that good. If it does happen to come apart, use a little E6000 glue on that and give it time to dry, and that will be a good fix for you. So let's get started on the pumpkin, and you simply are going to come to one corner where this is, the two pieces meet, and you're going to knot it. And this is a different technique than the hat. Now, when you're finished, you're not going to need to wrap it around the edges, because it'll be enough to cover that up. But I like to start right here, and you're going to do an over-under or under-over pattern. So I went underneath this one, I'm going to go over this one. So make sure your ball is small enough to do this. So under this one, over this one, under this one, and I'm going to come back around. And I don't know, can you see how I did that? And then I'm under this one, over this one, under, over, under, and then I'm going to come around behind this one. And this one I had went under, so I'm going to go over it, under, over, under, over, under. Okay, so I have finished that one ball of yarn, and you can kind of see a pattern starting here. And I'm going to tell you that if you accidentally do the same pattern twice in a row, don't sweat it, don't unwind the whole thing, because you're going to have this enough to where you push it down and it's going to cover that up. as well as, like I said, don't wind it around the edge of the pumpkin because the edge is going to be finished on the sides by your pattern. And once you have enough of this and push it down, you are never going to see the bottom or the top of this wreath frame. And like I said, you're going to continue on and continue to the center and finish that, and then you're going to go to the top and then continue to the center and just knot that together. And that's the easiest way I found to work with this pumpkin wreath frame. The color that I used for this is this color Sand, and that is what I used. This is going to be my Scarecrow, and for my witch, the color is this Go Green. Now this black is a whole lot thicker than this green and the other colors that I'm using. The thicker the yarn that you use, you will be able to see the pattern that you are creating even more. So it is just up to you, but don't use any yarn any thinner than this blanket yarn right here. Once you have completed wrapping the wreath frame for the hat, as well as the pumpkin, they should look something like this. Here is my Scarecrow hat, my witch hat, my Scarecrow head, and also my witch head. We are going to begin by decorating the pumpkin, and I am going to be using some of these miniature pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using this medium rickrack in this pumpkin color, a square of this pumpkin colored felt I picked up at Walmart, one of these sunflowers from the Dollar Tree, and also using the raffia and some Dollar Tree ribbon that I have here somewhere. So let's just get right on into decorating the Scarecrow head. I found my ribbon, and this is the ribbon that I am going to be using from the Dollar Tree. So you can see that all of my colors are very cohesive. I really want my little Scarecrow to have some Scarecrow bangs before I attach the hat. So I'm going to be using some raffia to make her bangs. So I'm going to take a piece like this, and I'm going to use a similar technique that I use to make tutus for my granddaughter. I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to just fold it like this so it creates this loop here at the top. And I am going to come over here to where you can see the wreath frame right here, and I am going to push this loop up into this wreath frame, and you see my finger poking through right here, and so this part is in the very back. Well, I'm going to take this part and I'm going to pull it through the loop, and so you can see this loop right here, and that way it lays down. And I'm going to do this all the way across the top, and then I'm going to trim her bangs because you see I have them too long. Okay, so you can see where I have these two bundles of the raffia tied right here, And it looks like there's 5 sections across the top here, including right underneath this stem. So I'm gonna need 10 little sections to make her bangs. And I apologize, you can hear my dogs playing in the background. It has now reached raffia insanity level on my table here, but I wanted to show you one last time. I wanted to show you how to place it underneath this stem here. So again, you're gonna take the length that you want, and I'm just creating bundles like this. Some of you crafters might be neater than me, and I'm going to cut this in half for my 2 pieces. I'm gonna set one aside, and I am going to come to the middle of this bundle, and I'm gonna create that loop. And this loop is going to go right in here, under here. Can you see that? And this piece is going to have to go inside of where this stem is. So this is a little more difficult than the rest. And obviously now I have my raffia hung on the stem or something. Okay, so I think that I've got that tight enough. So I have that piece, and I'm gonna do a second piece right here. So I'm gonna take my second bundle and again create that loop. And I'm going to run the loop in. And I've got the loop with my thumb, and I'm going to pull this piece in and through the loop. And pull that tight. So turn all my little pieces to the front, and then she'll need a trim. Now I am going to decorate my Scarecrow's face, and I am going to be using the rickrack, the piece of felt, and these black buttons that I have for her face. And I'm simply just going to kind of pull her hair back so that I can decorate her face. And I think her eyes are going to go about right here. In deciding how I wanted to create my Scarecrow's nose, I came up with this idea to use this little rickrack and create a triangle to put underneath the felt triangle piece that I was going to use for her nose. That way, when I glue it on, it is bordered by this rickrack that's kind of peeking out. And I kind of decided on this because I used to sew for my daughter when she was little, and I used rickrack to embellish a lot, and I would kind of just tuck the rickrack in beneath the cloth so it was peeking out, and I always thought that was really cute. I just glued her nose on the center of her face, and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to just glue some eyes on using these buttons, and they don't match. I think it's cute and quirky whenever they don't match. And then I'm going to glue on this rickrack as her mouth. So you can see the beginning of her little face. Now you can see how the face to my Scarecrow is starting to take shape. So I'm going to move on to decorating the hat for the Scarecrow, and I'm going to set this aside. To decorate my Scarecrow hat, I'm going to be using this orange and khaki colored buffalo check ribbon. I would have liked to have had wider ribbon, but this is just what I have on hand, and I'm going to be using one of these clip-on sunflowers. So I'm simply just gonna tie this around, and I'm gonna create a bow on the side. Once I've figured out my bow, I am going to be using this decorative sunflower clip and clipping it on to my ribbon. And then I will put a little glue on the back to make sure that it stays stable. This is the part where we are going to be attaching our hat to our head. And we're going to be using zip ties. So we're going to take our hair, which wants to flip back down, and try and make it stay forward. We're going to line this hat up. And we're going to take a zip tie, and I am going to start in the middle, right between this stem here, but not on the stem, underneath it where we attached the hair. And I'm going to poke the zip tie around the wreath form, and I am going to then find the middle of my hat and pull that zip tie through. And I want to make sure that the hat, I think I'm doing it backwards. Am I doing it? No. Okay. Yes, I am doing it backwards. So I want to make sure that my zip tie goes this way and in and around, so I can pull it properly. And then again, I have this pulled apart. I am going to start by, oh, I see what I did. I actually am attempting to pull it through the stem. So we're going to pull the zip tie through, and this would be helpful if it was, again, sitting in your lap and not on a surface. So I do not want it going through the stem, but under the stem like the raffia. So it's probably going to be best to attach it from the back, just like I have it turned here. And just pull that taut. Okay, and I've got some hair that's turned the opposite direction. Okay, And then I'm going to come to the end here, and I'm going to do the same thing and find a spot in here. And I'm going to pull that taut. And just make sure you push your yarn back to hide the spot. I'm going to come to this end. And pull it taut. Okay. So I'm going to turn this around and we'll see. First off, we're going to clip these. We may need an extra, you know, one on this side and one on this side. I'm not sure yet. This is the first time I am making this. So I'm just going to cut that one. And this is super cute. It is so long that I'm gonna have to take a picture just to show you what they look like. But this works. She is absolutely adorable. So we're going to move on to decorating the witch. To create the witch's face, I think I'm going to be a little quirky, and I am going to use the black buttons for her eyeballs. But I have these little heart stickers from the Dollar Tree that were left over from Valentine's. And I think that's simply going to be her little mouth. And for her nose, I am going to create a nose out of this green colored rickrack. So I'm just going to kind of find the center where I want her eyes to be. Okay. And this little felt sticker has a backing on it. I'm going to peel the backing off and apply some hot glue to the back of it. See her little eyes? And this is going to be her mouth. So I want to kind of come down here in the center. Place her little mouth right there. And then I am going to create a nose to go on the center of her face. So how I'm going to do that is, this is a brand new, I don't know what you call this. It's not a spool, but this is a brand new pack of rickrack, and it has the tape on the end, and I'm just going to kind of leave that on the end. I am going to apply a little hot glue, and I'm going to be really careful. I'm going to bend it over, and I'm going to kind of roll this around and periodically glue it, because I'm going to create like a little rosette for her nose. I'm just going to keep on winding it around until it's the size that I want it. I think I'm going to snip out this tape here in the center. So I kind of have that about the size I think that I want it. So I'm going to kind of check and see. And I think that is about right. So I'm just going to glue the end and fold that over and let it cool. Ow! Because this is really hot. I do have some of those little silicone finger covers somewhere, but I don't know where I put them. Somewhere where I thought that I would find them. I'm going to cut that. Make sure that stays down. And then the back of it, I just left the tape on it, but the back of it, I'm going to start putting some glue on here and hopefully not burn myself in the process. And I'm going to place that on the center of her face. So there is the beginning of my little witch's face. To decorate my little witch's hat, I think I am going to be using these spiders from the Dollar Tree, and I have some of this trim from Walmart on hand, and it just looks like these little roses, and I think I'm just going to place that around the top of it and attach a spider or two on her hat. So I'm just going to start by gluing this on the back here. I'm going to use my scissors so I don't burn myself. Even though these little spiders have this little clamp on them like the sunflower did, I think I'm going to remove those and just glue the spiders directly on to the trim. I'm just going to pull them off. There we go. And I'm not sure whether I'm going to use 1 or 3. I kind of like odd numbers. So here's 1. I think I'm just going to use 1. I thought maybe they would look good in a grouping. Maybe if I have them facing one another. So I think I like 3. So I think I'm just going to glue those 3 little spiders on there. And just have their little feet just barely touching. And we're going to be moving on to attaching the hat and the head together, just like we did with the Scarecrow, only this time there won't be hair in the way. So let's give this a second try. And like I had said before, it was easier to turn it upside down. So that is what we're going to do, is we're going to turn it upside down. And I'm going to start here. Make sure our hat sits in front of the stem and go through the stem. And this is definitely easier the second time around, because the first time I was trying to figure out how I was going to do it. Okay. Now cut them off. Don't cut them too short, otherwise they might fall back through. And let's see what she looks like. We'll push the yarn back together and tuck anything. But I think that is so cute. I will put some pictures in. I'll hang them, and that way you can get a better look and see what they look like hanging up. Thanks for checking out my DIY tutorial. If you enjoy my content, be sure to like and subscribe. What are you waiting for? And be sure to hit that notification bell so you can be notified the next time I upload a new video. Have a beautiful and blessed day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!